All right, folks, welcome to the big show. We are here to talk about the President's Cabinet. I am coming to you live from room 121/122. I've even got a small audience today for this discussion of the President's Cabinet. Now, if you can see from the picture on there, I have a picture of some very cool cabinets for you. Mrs. Bagwell might like those cabinets. Mrs. Bray, what do you think of the cabinets? She says they're gorgeous, folks. That is unfortunately not the President's Cabinets that we're talking about. We're talking about the group of advisors that are going to work with the President to help him run the executive branch. The modern cabinet is going to consist of the Vice President of the United States. Today that is a guy by the name of Mike Pence. I'm doing this in October of 2020. It also has 15 executive departments, so 15 different people that are helping the President run the executive branch of government. Each one of those folks has hundreds of people that work for them to try to help the government run as smoothly as possible. And we'll see who those folks are momentarily. The Constitution, which you're reading every night before you go to bed, makes no mention of the cabinet. So this is something that is the creation of presidents as history has gone on. It says that the president has the power to appoint executive department heads with the Senate approval. So that is what we call the president's cabinets. It's the head of these different departments, and so the president appoints them, and then they are voted on by the Senate to get the job. Most of the time, the person the president wants is going to get approved. There are instances, though, where that hasn't happened. President Washington, of course, our first president, was the first president to have a cabinet. It had 4 members and Vice President John Adams. Sorry about that. There was a small announcement about Key Club on there. Hey, go join Key Club, right? If you're looking for something to do, you want to get involved in a school activity, come see Mrs. Bray. Right, she'll tell you all about getting into Key Club. George Washington, though, had 4 cabinet members and poor John Adams. John Adams was kind of the odd man out in this group. We know how that is, right? You get 5 friends together, and not everybody's going to be equal. Poor John Adams is the one that kind of gets left out. Secretary of State, guy you've heard of. His name's Thomas Jefferson. He's the author of the Declaration of Independence. Secretary of State handles our relationship with other countries. He was very fond of the French, and so that would work out pretty well for him. Secretary of the Treasury, another guy you've heard of, Alexander Hamilton, right? He has his own musical that is on the Disney Plus right now as of this recording. You need to check it out. You can learn all about him. Secretary of War was a guy named Henry Knox. Henry Knox, we don't have a Secretary of War anymore. We have a Secretary of Defense because that sounds less violent. So we have a Secretary of Defense. We don't want to be aggressive. Now, finally, we had Edmund Randolph, a guy you've never heard of, as the Attorney General. And he is, that is the top cop in the country. The department he's the head of is the Department of Justice. Now, the cool thing about this cabinet is they were all really, really smart guys that all had different areas of expertise. They were not all of the same political party, and some of them just flat didn't like each other. 2 of the guys that didn't like each other were Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. And they really did not. Hamilton wanted to have a central bank for the country, and Jefferson didn't, and so we've got 2 clips that I'm going to put on the YouTube playlist for you, one from the HBO series John Adams, and another from the musical Hamilton that will illustrate that. So go, if you're listening to this at home, go to the playlist to check that out. And then, but let's look at how it has changed. So we've gone from President Washington, our first president, to our 45th president, a guy named Donald J. Trump. And the cabinet has grown over these 200 plus years of American history. Washington's 4-man cabinet is now 15. And like I said, 1949, after World War II, we changed the Department of War to the Department of Defense. So let's take a look at President Trump's cabinet. And the people who are there. You also have got in the assignment you're going to do for this unit, you're going to check out one of these cabinet departments in a lot more detail. The first is the Department of State. This was the very first department that was created. Secretary of State today is a guy named Mike Pompeo, and they handle all our interactions with other countries. So that is something we call foreign policy. So the Department of State is going to handle any type of negotiations we're having with folks, treaties we're having with folks, threats maybe to other countries that we want to help out, or threats to our country that they need to give some advisement and that type of stuff on. That's the kind of stuff the Department of State is going to take care of. The Department of the Treasury is Steve Mnuchin is the guy who's the Department of the Treasury Secretary today. It is doing just what it says, right? This is kind of influencing our economic and financial systems, and so this is where we want to have good economics, prosperity here in the country, and the Secretary of the Treasury is in charge of the organization that's going to make sure that the economy is moving in the right direction. The Department of Defense, Mark Esper, today is the head of the Department of Defense, and it is where the military is housed. Their headquarters is in the Pentagon, the largest office building in the world, and all branches of our government are there, and so President Trump is the commander-in-chief, or whoever president is commander-in-chief, and then he has his Secretary of Defense, which is kind of second in charge there, and then it goes on down. But the Department of Defense is our armed forces. Department of Justice, William Barr is the Attorney General of the United States right now, and these folks are going to be kind of the top lawyers and the top cops in the country. They are going to represent the United States government in legal cases. They're going to try to protect regular people from scams or corruption, things like that. And so this is the arm of the United States government that is representing us in courtrooms and those types of situations around the country. Department of the Interior, you see there a nice little buffalo. This one was created in 1849, so before the Civil War. David Bernhardt is the Secretary of the Interior, and it is in charge of kind of honoring our national resources, and so state parks, watersheds, wildlife refuges, things like that, and also deals with our responsibilities towards Native American groups and that sort of thing. That's what the Department of the Interior is going to be taking a look at. The Department of Agriculture, just what it sounds like, it is responsible for the branch of government that is responsible for farming, that type of stuff, economic development. Sonny Perdue is the guy who is in charge of it now, and his family has a long history of being involved in agriculture. But basically what they're doing is trying to help farmers, to help rural communities, kind of like the one that we live in, and ensure a quality food supply. So the USDA, right, if you've ever seen meat, things like that, stamped with USDA approval, this is the branch of the government that's doing that. Department of Commerce is supposed to promote job creation and economic growth, and so the idea here is we want to have good trade relations with other countries. We want to be bringing stuff in, but also selling stuff to other countries, and we want to do that in a way that is going to benefit the workforce of the United States. Wilbur Ross today is our Secretary of Commerce. The Department of Labor is there to improve working conditions in places, also protect benefits of workers both when they're in the job force and after they retire. These are folks that are going to help with negotiations between labor and management in places, but also kind of figuring out what kind of changes in types of employers or how much things cost. This is going to be the folks that are dealing with things like unemployment numbers, things like that that the government's going to be dealing with. Eugene Scalea is the Department of Labor Secretary. The Department of Health and Human Services is there to help support mental health, physical health services in the United States, really to promote a healthy American society. So to provide for the health and well-being of Americans. Alex Azar is the Secretary of Health and Human Services today. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, is headed actually by a brain surgeon, a guy named Ben Carson. If you've never seen Gifted Hands, there's the story of his life. Cuba Gooding Jr. plays him in the film. But the Housing and Urban Development is there to help produce places for people to live and also to help communities develop in the country. So that's what Housing and Urban Development is going to be taken care of. All right, next up we've got the Department of Transportation. Elaine Chao is the head of the Department of Transportation. You wouldn't know it from her name. This is actually the wife of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Department of Transportation, just like what it sounds like, is helping to develop travel on land, sea, and air all across the country. They are going to look at our roads, highways, airports, seaports, all of those things to make sure that they are up to standards and safe. The next department that we have is the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy, again, does just what it sounds like. They are involved in implementing the executive branch's policies as they concern fossil fuels and nuclear power and green initiatives, things like that, to find new sources of energy. One of the things that you hear about quite a bit today is the idea of fracking. Whether or not that process will continue, that would be something that the Department of Energy would be taking care of. The Department of Education focuses on education. Now, for the most part, the states are going to run their schools, but there are federal mandates that come down for schooling. Things you go back to the 1950s, things like desegregation, things like that. And so there is a wing of the executive branch that deals with education, but on a national level. Sometimes they'll set national standards that every school in the nation has to meet. But like I said, for the most part, this is a kind of a state thing, but you have a national arm of that one. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veterans Affairs, just what it sounds like, dealing with folks that have served their country in the military. And Robert Wilkie is in charge of that today. This has been a focus of the Trump administration, fixing some issues and streamlining some things in the Department of Veterans Affairs. One of the things that they do is they get health care, and so that at different times has been hard for those folks to get access to, and they've been trying to improve that. The Department of Veterans Affairs, like I said, deals with veterans issues. The last one here is the Department of Homeland Security. This is one that I remember being created. It was created in the aftermath of 9/11 to help eliminate issues that may be coming in the United States. Increased airport security is one way that we see the Department of Homeland Security showing up. But a lot of counterterrorism, things like that that you'll see coming out of the Department of Homeland Security. So that's the very last cabinet post that has been added thus far. And so that is the makeup of the President's cabinet.